Okay, the midheaven up in the 10th house, the status. Here Aries is all interceptors. So she really, I don't take interceptions as not being there. I use them as an add-on. So her moon in Aries is too predominant in the 10th house to not be the dominant factor. But she has Pisces on the midheaven. So there's a Jupiter element of understanding and expanding and reaching out and expanding and trying to reach out and do things. And as many and a diverse and wanting a diversity to do things and living up to them and improving things. So she has the Jupiter and the Mars. Well, her Jupiter squares the Mercury. So that's one part, but her Mars is strong. It's hit by Pluto. It's not bad, no bad aspects. So she can make things that ties into how she expresses herself and how she wants to perform and what she's doing. So her motivation down with Virgo is to make things perfect, to improve things, make things better, to fix things. Saturn in the 6th house is to fix things. Sun in the first house has to be best. If I'm fixing things best, if I'm getting things done, I'm glorious. Okay, so whether the issue is I got the home for the kids, but I gotta have a place we can go. We gotta have a cottage, or we gotta go to Florida. We gotta have some place we can go. That's part of the lifestyle. It's with it. To do that, I gotta make more money. Like it's that parallel. But you think if she studying the study astrology, she got motivated by ideas. And she's spent her life doing business ideas and motivated, making exciting and going through big changes in the world going from old technology to modern technology, which she was involved with in the Mercury Venus. She was involved with building in new technologies and organizing big systems around it. But you think take that to astrology, so the motivation, the ideas. Once she gets the ideas, well, and she sees things that some people aren't doing so good or something that it could be done better, she's going to see what she's going to do. And you could see that it wouldn't be long before she thinks she could write a book or she could be teaching and putting these ideas out as one of the things she'd have to do. Like one of the things about her moon, it's pushed up to career because of the Saturn moon, is pushed to business. But really, the moon in the 10th house could be making a hobby career. So some people have the moon in the 10th house, they would be a nurse. They would be they run a restaurant, they'd work with a family, things of this sort. Okay, but her chart is too strong with the Leo to be the follower. She's got to have her own thing. It's not working for the family. It's working for them, so they're taken care of, but not taking orders from them. So, yeah, okay. So I think it comes down to living up to being as good a guy as if they didn't have a daughter, if parents didn't have a son, maybe they did, and maybe if they were a son or something, it might have been a sibling rivalry in the 3rd house, but that she would always have to prove that she was as good as anyone else, and the Saturn moon would be not giving her the feedback that, yeah, you're doing it, she'd have to go take it. Even then, so her personality, she'd be very sensitive inwardly to whether that she takes an impression, but she wouldn't show them. She'd take things in and wouldn't show, and then it would pump her up to live her own world, and that's how she's going to deal with it. Okay, so this is a fairly good character assessment. We got into some of the senses of herself. You need this to be able to get to see this is affected by the transits. The transit will come up and challenge these things, how she's going to use that in the world. And then when you get to the progressions, you really see how the inward part is developing around this. Okay, so we know, we can do this in order, but when you look at a chart, you're going to see her progressed sun is going to move down through the 2nd house, money resources, into the 3rd house, down to the IC, a personal motivation, which is going to oppose the midheaven. So if someone was in the 7th house, they're building up more and more to career, more and more, but it's in the 1st house, moving more and more to my lifestyle, more and more. So we can see that. We'll get back to that. But with the transits, her Saturn starts over here. So let's go. Just keep following this along. Okay, sorry. When you're working on the chart, take your time to make it interesting, to enjoy it, to meet the person, to look at the puzzles around it, to feel out the aspect, to think it through, to wonder it through. What would you do if you had these things? How would this be? Oh my God, and you start to get into this. So this is, again, I put the chart in here because it gives the natal charts in the middle and the transits on the outside, but the inside is a clutter of all the aspects of everything to everything. Is too much. So I don't usually work with this. I don't the approach of taking a planet, seeing the houses, and seeing how, comparing two charts, the transit charts. Now, I can do it, but I prefer to watch each planet as it's moving around in a lifetime and see it uniquely. So, okay, we get back to the natal chart, that's here. And we'll have it on the side so we don't have to keep it there. Now we got to do with the transit with the Saturn. And 80% of what you're going to advise, but 80% of your advice is going to come from Saturn. Responsible advice is going to come from Saturn. And if you have the responsible advice correct, you'll be able to direct Jupiter and Mars. You'll be able to direct your understanding will be right, will be better, and both those things will guide the Mars so you can get into actions that are productive rather than destructive. And then if you have the Saturn working well, it has the proper defenses and structure to deal with the disruptions of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto and get back on track as fast as possible to minimize the damage. Okay, so each planet is in the sign, colored by the sign it's in. It puts its energy into the affairs of the house it's in. It does the easy or difficult, bitty aspects. So when we look at this quickly, I'm looking at the planet and the sign it's in, the house it's in, and looking at the vulnerable aspects, just to see where the pressure is coming from. And they're still going to be the sun in their house or their sign, but you look at the planets and you look and you start to see that. So we've gone through that in a kind of quick form from when we did the natal chart, but it should be the full step procedure. You should spend a few hours on a chart, a good hour or so before you even get to the transits. So you're comfortable with a person. Really, reading should be done in 3 parts. The natal chart, 1 reading, the transits, the next reading, and the progressions, the next reading. And possibly putting it all together. But really, 3 or 4 sessions would be the best way to establish an in-depth relationship to someone and to be an in-depth advisor for them. Anything less, you're cutting corners a little bit, you're making a little fat, you're doing that work in advance and trying to hand as much to them as they're ready for. But there's so much information, people haven't studied this or don't know these things. They're not ready to receive too much of it. You're having to fine-tune what you know to fit to their circumstances so you can see what's useful to them in context to where they are. Okay, so we look at the chart. You see Saturn. We're just looking at the chart first. We'll follow it from there. We got all the dates and everything around here, but we have Saturn here in Capricorn. But because this chart of the Saturn cycle is based on this Aries is on the left, her Saturn will be up on the top. So it's like the chart has been rotated a little bit. So you see the shaded part below in the chart. You see the shaded part below on the right hand, on the right hand side in the transit chart, in the Saturn transit chart. Okay, so that you just get used to that adjustment, and it's better. It's the only way you can write all these things down and have it consistent. Which person Saturn comes where it is, and you can follow it around. Okay. So really, the houses move inside the signs anyways. The signs don't move around the houses. It's houses and the Earth moving inside the heavens, or inside the orbit. Okay, so her Saturn's in the 6th house. Work, health, skills, health, being of service, and having to work hard. It's actually an inhibition. Not good enough. I can't do this. There's need to get skills to work to make that happen. But because Saturn's in Capricorn, it's strong there. Okay, and there's a ability to turn this into practical work. Okay, so her Saturn's going to start in the 6th house. So it's going to take a year or two and then get over the descendant. So she might not have been the healthiest baby right away. She might have had some weakness or some special problems with the Sun, Neptune, and the Moon, Saturn. It might have been something to do with her health, although her chart with the sun, it normally says it's healthy. So if it was there early, it was probably more to do with the circumstances of the parents, but her Saturn will hit the descendant at a very young age. It hits the descendant like a year or two. It really hit the descendant. She's born 59 and 61, very beginning of 61, hits the descendant. That's pulling her out of the world more than staying at home. It's putting her out as a role in the world. She became a role in everybody's life around her, living up to what's outside, not really getting focus, not been on what she needs personally, is what role she plays outwardly. So anyways, that's the Saturn over the descendant. Maybe it's something to do with grandparents, how they come in or don't come in, or something changed around there. And it built up. You can't know. That's too young. But you know it's happening, but it's hard to measure what that implies at such an early age. It could be having someone take care of her more than her parents. And it starts going up. Like usually you get to daycare at age 5 or 6. Here's something 2 or 3, 1 or 2. So changes there. So it comes up and goes up and hits her midheaven. Will hit her midheaven. Almost, it's her Saturn is going to be square the midheaven icy. So the Saturn cycle is going to be very strongly tied to when Saturn hits the midheaven, it's going to square itself as well. 67, it goes 66, 67, it went back and forth over the midheaven, squaring the Saturn. Okay, so what status when you're 7 years old? Well, going to school, getting out of the house. Wow. Getting out the proves you can do things. That's there. Okay, so that would be at 7. So she has a certain status, and that's going to continue. That's a wide quadrant, the 10th, 11th, 12th. That's almost like 120. That's 110 degrees. So you have Saturn's going to be in that for almost 10 years. So Saturn's from the midheaven, 61, till it hits the ascendant in 75, 9 years. Okay, so Saturn spends 9 years building up and going in. So that's 9 years from 7. That's 8, 2, 3, 5, 2, 9. It goes up. That's still till the end of high school almost. Well, not quite. Yeah, 15, 16, 17. That's to the end of high school when Saturn will hit her ascendant. Okay, so this is important. Like you realize this. Okay, she had. So this means by the time she's 12, by the time she's 14, and Saturn's opposing her Saturn. Saturn's in her 12th house. The world she's been living in has been caving in. She's been the apple like it's actually. She's growing up. She's going through her puberty changes, and she's not. Everyone gets through that, but it does. As soon as it went into Cancer, it's in the 12th house. She's starting to not fit in with the friends. So trying to finish school for family instead of for herself. She hasn't finished for herself. There's some difficulty here. What do I have to put up with family? And by the time it gets to Saturn to the opposed to Saturn square the moon, it's going to bring in pressures around health, around putting up with family, whatever. At 16, 17, you're going to have an unhappy teenager and feeling I don't fit in. And that's going to keep going on until Saturn hits the ascendant, and hit the ascendant in 75 in June, the end of the school year. So 75, she's 75, 69,